Hey Reddit. I plus here. Ever had one of those moments where a single sentence flips your whole life upside down? Mine came wrapped in 4 simple words: we need to talk. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. That phrase has destroyed more relationships than forgetting anniversaries and saying, calm down, during an argument combined. I'm Marcus. 32. Nothing special. Just a regular guy who works as a mechanic, lives for grilled cheese, and can quote way too many horror movies. Until recently, I was engaged to a woman named Candace. She's 34, has vibrant red hair, and a smile so convincing it could probably beat a murder charge. Not that she ever did anything like that, but if someone could charm a jury, it was her. Candace had 3 kids from a previous relationship, 2 boys, Max and Eli, and a little girl, Jordan. I met them when they were 7, 5, and 3. Fast forward 5 years, and now they're 12, 10, and 8. 5 years of being in their lives. That's 5 years of early school drop-offs, Chuck E. Cheese birthday chaos, which, side note, I'm convinced is hosted by a possessed animatronic rodent, middle-of-the-night fevers, and sneaking into rooms to play Tooth Fairy, even after Eli caught me red-handed and demanded $10 for the emotional distress. I didn't just love those kids. I raised them. As for their biological dad, Kevin, yes, that's his real name, walked out when Jordan was still in diapers. No calls, no checks, not even a postcard. The guy became a living ghost who occasionally updated his Facebook with gym selfies and inspirational quotes about what it means to be a real man. The irony still stings. Candace and I thought we were solid. Sure, we had our fair share of disagreements. Who doesn't? But I was in it for the long haul. We had a wedding in the works. Venue reserved. My mom already had her dress. I even agreed to line dance at the reception, and I hate line dancing. Then one evening, she sat me down with that dreaded look. We need to talk. Nervous, I cracked a joke. You better not be pregnant. That'd be a real head-scratcher for science. She didn't even smile. That's when she told me she'd been seeing someone. For 4 months. She said she hadn't planned it. That it just happened. And the guy, Kevin. I laughed at first. I mean, come on, this had to be some cruel sitcom script. Kevin. The guy who ghosted his family and doesn't know the difference between there, and there? But she wasn't joking. She said they reconnected, for the kids. Then emotions got involved, and well, here we were. She described it like it was a series of accidental steps, like tripping down the stairs or reversing into your neighbor's mailbox. Except this wasn't clumsy, it was betrayal, complete with back pay. She cried. I didn't. I sat there, frozen, like my whole world had just been punched in the gut by a dude wearing cargo shorts and reeking of Axe body spray. And then she hit me with the line. I hope we can still co-parent. You're their dad in every way that matters. I blinked. You mean, while you're moving in with Kevin? You want me to still, what? Be a bonus dad? Weekend stepdad? Emergency babysitter? She nodded, like she'd just asked me to pick up milk on my way home. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Marcus, they love you. You're part of our family. Candace, I said, I'm not sticking around as some unpaid emotional backup while you go play pretend happy family with Kevin 2.0. She looked hurt. Genuinely stunned, like I was the one being unreasonable, for walking away after she tossed me aside like a moldy container in the back of the fridge. That night, I packed my things and left. I told the kids I needed to go away for a bit. I couldn't even meet Jordan's eyes without feeling like I'd shatter. The weeks after were brutal. My apartment turned into a shrine to heartbreak, takeout boxes, crumpled tissues, and empty bottles scattered around like confetti for a pity party. I binged Grey's Anatomy and cried like I'd just lost a limb. Say what you want. Judge me. I dare you. Then the messages started rolling in. Candace. They miss you. Jordan won't touch her broccoli without you. Max cried himself to sleep and asked why you hate them. From Kevin, of all people, step up, man. You were part of their lives. Be a man. Be a man. Be a man. Coming from the same guy who dipped out when his daughter was still in diapers, and probably hasn't wiped a single nose or but since Obama's first term. Yeah, no. I cut them both off. Blocked every number, every app. Then I stepped back and focused on healing. I found a therapist. Started running, even though every jog made my knees sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies during an earthquake. It wasn't quick, it wasn't pretty, but bit by bit, I found my footing again. Then, half a year later, there she was, Candace, standing on my doorstep. Hair a mess, eyes swollen, Jordan clinging to her hand like a lost balloon. Her voice cracked as she said, "He left. Kevin's gone. Said he wasn't ready. The kids, they need you." I looked down at Jordan's innocent little face, then back at Candace. And for one fleeting second, I almost said yes. But I didn't. I said, "I'm not their father. And that's not something I chose. You did." Candace burst into tears. Jordan just stared at me like I had turned into the villain from her favorite storybook. But I gently closed the door. Because sometimes loving someone isn't enough to stay. Sometimes, doing what's right means walking away. And sometimes, the only way to become the man you were always meant to be is by no longer being someone else's safety net. I didn't sleep that night, not because I regretted my choice, but because my heart felt like it had been torn straight from my chest. You ever care about something so deeply that letting it go feels like peeling off your own skin? That was me. Those kids weren't just hers, they were ours. I was the one who taught Max how to throw a spiral. I spent one Christmas building a dollhouse for Jordan, wound up looking like I went to war with a porcupine. I cleaned up Eli's vomit when he had the flu and ruined my Xbox in the process. I loved them. Still do. But here's the thing, Candace didn't just break my heart. She made a choice. She gave someone else the title of father, then expected me to slide back in when it fell apart, like I was some forgotten spare tire. I'm no one's backup plan. The next day in therapy, I spilled everything. The anger, the confusion, the shame of almost saying yes. Not because she returned, but because part of me had hoped she would. My therapist looked at me and said something I'll never forget. You can love people and still choose to leave. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. So I held the line. I didn't answer Candace's messages. Didn't make any calls. But I did write the kids' letters. Honest ones. Full of love. I told each of them how proud I was, how much they meant to me, and that none of what happened was ever their fault. I kept those letters. Maybe someday, when they're old enough to understand, I'll give them a piece of their past from someone who never stopped loving them. Letting go wasn't peaceful. The quiet after 5 years of constant motion was loud enough to make my ears ring. But in that silence, I remembered who I was. I got back under the hood, literally. Fixed up cars again. Started mentoring at a local youth program. Turns out, a lot of kids out there need someone steady. Someone who shows up. And this time, I'm doing it on my own terms. Fast forward a couple years. One Saturday, I'm grabbing coffee when I see a lanky teen in a hoodie and headphones. It's Max. He locks eyes with me, and suddenly bolts over. He's taller, older. Hugged me like he was trying to squeeze 5 years into one moment. I'll admit, I choked up. Told him I missed him. That I was proud of him. We caught up, school, life, everything. He told me Kevin disappeared again. For good, this time. Said Candace was barely holding it together. The kids were trying to stay strong. Then he asked me, "Why didn't you come back?" I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "Because I wasn't wanted until everything fell apart. And you deserve people who choose you first, not only when it's convenient." He didn't argue. Just nodded like he'd known the answer all along. Then he said the words that cracked me open in the best way. "You were the only real dad I ever had." I cried that night, not from sorrow, but from something gentler. Closure. The kind that finally lets you breathe again. These days, I'm in a healthier space. I'm dating again. Her name's Tasha. She laughs like thunder and owns a cat that definitely has it out for me. But she brings calm. No chaos. No baggage stashed under the bed. She knows everything. And when I told her my story, she just smiled and said, "I'm glad you finally chose yourself. Because now I get to love the whole version of you, scars and all." So if you're reading this, stuck somewhere between heartbreak and healing, let me tell you something. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to say, no more. You don't have to keep burning yourself out to keep others warm. Because sometimes, the strongest thing you'll ever do is close the door, and not open it again. A few weeks after I ran into Max, Candace reached out again. The kids keep asking about you. Maybe you could stop by, just for dinner. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to say yes, for the kids, for the history. But I didn't. Instead, I replied, I'll always care about them. But I'm not your backup. I'm not the filler you call when things fall apart. They deserve consistency. And so do I. She never wrote back. And that was okay. Because sometimes love isn't enough reason to stay, but having self-respect? That's always enough reason to leave. So I did. And this time, I didn't look back.